Mick Vev.
Goedemorgen. Oh, we zijn versterkt.
Good morning.
Morning.
Goedemorgen allemaal.
Indeed. Yeah. Good morning, everyone, and very much welcome here to this live press conference that we're doing in English today because we're actually talking to an international audience. We're going to talk about what Amsterdam does as a conference city today, and it's quite extraordinary after having been paused for over a year and a half that we actually didn't have international guests. We had no large business conferences. It has been quite sad, actually, over the past time during COVID. But we see now that the seasons are opening up again, and we're very happy to be able to announce that with these distinguished guests today that I'm happy to introduce to you in a second. Very briefly, my name is Don Ginsel. I'm the founder of Holland Fintech. That's a business association for fintech companies and financial institutions based here in Amsterdam. And from that perspective, as the first major conference in Amsterdam is going to be about fintech, Money 2020, we're very happy to actually be able to host you here and look ahead at this great conference. So let me introduce to you all the great speakers that we have here. First of all, we have Ms. Davies, who's the chairman of Essential and responsible for Money 2020 Europe, the great show that's going to be around from the 21st to the 23rd of September. Then we have Ms. Halsema, who's the mayor of Amsterdam. Then we have Mr. Everhardt, who's the deputy mayor of Amsterdam, I should say. And Mr. Riemens, who's the CEO of RAI. Very much looking forward to having you here at the table, and very much looking forward to talk to you about this great moment when we can actually open the conference season again. So let me start with you, Ms. Halsema. What can you tell? Are you excited that we're actually able to host business conferences again here in Amsterdam? It's quite a wonderful moment.
Yes, very, very. I think Mr. Riemens can talk about it also, but it's been quite a horrible year, I think, for the conference sector and for the event sector in Amsterdam. For a year and a half, everything has been shut down. And it's a very important sector in Amsterdam. Business travelers, tourists, a lot of people from Holland come to Amsterdam to be informed about a variety of subjects. And it didn't happen. So the economic effect was dramatic on our city, but also the cultural effect for the spirit of the city. So yes, we are very happy that hopefully everything can start again.
We're very much looking forward to that. Mr. Everhardt, what do you say about that? I think there's been a plan made for how to actually open Amsterdam for conferences last year and actually make it a sustainable city for business events like this for the coming years. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, we introduced a plan, and we put also money to our mouth. That's also, I think, very important, 3.7 million, to start up again a conference bureau with our partners in Amsterdam and Partners, as they called, because we see, as the mayor also already explained, that it's really of added value. It's of added value to RAI itself. It's added value to all the people who are working here and around, and all the people who are making conferences like this possible. It's also important for the musea, the site visits, the hotels. I can stress that not too much, I would say, because this is very important to be a vibrant city. But next to that, Money 2020 coming to Amsterdam is meaning big brains are also coming to Amsterdam. Finance, fintech, sustainable finance, it's a very important issue nowadays, looking at where we have with the problems we face, and we need each other to solve this problem. So big brains coming to RAI, having conferences on fintech, but also on, for instance, health issues. Life science and health is a very important sector in Amsterdam, in the metropolitan area, and we need conferences like this. So I'm very, very pleased that we have this opportunity, starting with Money 2020, but we have the opportunity to host more conferences the coming month.
Yeah, I can definitely see that you're looking forward to that. Mr. Riemens, I think for the RAI it's also quite a big change of perspective after this has been turned into one big COVID test center over the past time, serving society well. But of course you're here for the conferences and events mostly. Are you looking forward to it?
Well, our future should not be a vaccination or test center. I think this is simply too
Although
big for that.
we're very grateful
Exactly.
for all the help you gave.
Well, we earned a little coin with that. I think I don't need to explain that the last 1.5 years have been very difficult for RAI. Of course, on the financial side, but I think, on top of that, if you look to the city of Amsterdam, I think RAI positioned itself as a very special place to organize events on, I would say, in line with the Sustainable Development Goals on almost every area. We organize events, whether it's tech, whether it's agriculture, technology, aviation. The next coming month is huge. Our portfolio is full. So I'm looking very forward to see that this is going to actually happen. And I'm very glad that we sit here together also with Money 2020. We have been collaborating the last 1.5 years very close together to make this work. We have been very modest in communicating the RAI, but I think now time is ripe to position ourselves and to show the outside world that this can seriously be done.
Yeah, I can fully understand that. And maybe talking about Money 2020, Ms. Davies, would you tell us a bit about what we can expect? I can imagine that you're also really keen to get this started again and bring all your loved ones in your network back together again here at RAI.
We're very excited. I think, firstly, it's fantastic to be back in the RAI, in this iconic venue. And thank you to the city and to the RAI for hosting today. I mean, as you say, it's a very important event for our customers and for the industry. And what it does, Money 2020 brings the whole fintech ecosystem together, so banks, payments, technology, to do business. That is what this show is about. They come together to set up the leads and the partnerships that get done that keep this industry moving and growing, and it is a big and dynamic industry. So it is really important that it's exciting, but it's also really important for business that we get Money 2020 back in September 21st. So, our customers talk about the 3 days here at the RAI is worth like 3 months worth of meetings outside. It's that critical in terms of the scale. And we're delighted to be in Amsterdam. We've been here since 2018. We chose it because it is a financial centre, because it's such an amazing hub. We welcome our visitors from over 65 countries here. So the network, the transport is so important. So I think it's an understatement to say that I'm excited to be here this morning.
Thank you for that. Mr. Everhardt, what do you think about that? Are you also particularly happy that we actually got fintech on the agenda? I think you already mentioned sustainable finance, for example. And I think if you talk about Amsterdam positions itself as a smart city, you can hardly imagine that without fintech, right? So what do you see here?
Yeah, that's putting the hammer on the nail, I would say. We say that in Dutch. But now, what's very important that we have a history in this sector. The first national bank was erected here in Amsterdam, so it starts already. And if you look nowadays at fintech, a partner like Adyen, who is also contributing to fintech and new technology, but also putting their offices in the middle of our city center, which is contributing to the liveliness in a different way than before COVID in the city center itself. It's a plus game. Next to that, new inventions like the Molly Pay system, we know it's here. Mm-hmm. But what we need is that we elaborate that more, make it more feasible, more visible, and also because of this really hub we are here, it means that new businesses can also come here and see what Amsterdam has to offer next to the conference itself and the hub you are bringing to Amsterdam. And that's, of course, for the new ways we have to find, because in my opinion, the financial sector and the fintech sector has a huge role to play sustainable finance in itself, but also finding new ways, in my wording, to pave the way to Paris, because that's where we are looking for new ways. And the fintech world has to pay and will pay and shall pay a large contribution to finding these ways for new solutions, which are very important and urgent. And that's is happening in Amsterdam. And I welcome, of course, as Deputy Mayor for Economic Affairs, that if people want to settle here, making new business here, welcome.
Yeah. Anything to add to that, Ms. Halsema?
Well, well, let me just say that I really agree with my alderman. I think we can welcome visitors also very safely. I think we're COVID-proof, and especially Rai is very COVID-proof, as it has become a COVID expert in the last year and a half. But I think Amsterdam has been an international city for a long time. We have a tradition in welcoming guests from all over the world. But the last years, we've seen that the image of the city internationally became a little bit common. It's not the city we are so proud of, with its historic buildings, its tradition of trades, international trades, innovation, intellect. That's what we are proud of. So we are transforming gradually our visitors' economy. And Mr. Everhardt is the face of that and is in the lead of that. And I think Money 2020 and a lot of the activities of RAI and other venues in our city are in the forefront of transforming our cities. Because with RAI and with other venues, we welcome a lot of the visitors we would really love to see. The people who help our city become more of an, well, innovative city, an curious city, and the city we have been proud of for so many years.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I think that's definitely a good welcome and a good setup also for Money 2020 to attract these people.
Yes.
And so, Ms. Davies, what can people expect actually when they come here end of September?
Well, I think we've had a little longer time to plan this one. So we've had, we really have reimagined to bring the show back. We've been working with new agencies, new creative agencies, to really reimagine and bring back the show. I think it's probably, I mean, every show that we do is important, but after the gap, it is so important for the reasons that I talked about. I think there is a real energy and vigor to that ecosystem wanting to come back. You know, when you look at the scale, I mean, 20% of all VC money in Europe goes into fintech. It's such an important sector, which as a percentage is more than Asia and America. You know, Europe is 17% of global fintech. So, you know, bringing that ecosystem back to be here is, you know, one of the most exciting things. I think a few really key things. What we have really missed is that industry coming together to talk to each other. Those conversations are absolutely critical to really map out the vision of where fintech is going over the next 5-10 years. You talked about sustainable finance. There are topics around central bank digital currencies. These are all critical topics that get discussed here at the RAI in Amsterdam. And that hasn't been able to happen. So we're really excited to bring that back. We've already announced Anna Botan, the chairwoman of Santander Group. We have wanted to have her as one of our big speakers for a long time. So I'm delighted that she will be here at the show in September. You mentioned Molly. We have the founder of Molly speaking, so homegrown local business. But also one of the things we're seeing is massive IPO activity. So we'll be welcoming the CEO of the London Stock Exchange, Julia Hoggett, here as well, the CEO of Checkout, you know, a big lineup, as well as, you know, a who's who lineup of key partners. So, you know, but the important thing is getting that ecosystem together to do the business.
Yep.
And that's what this is all about.
Yeah, that sounds already like a good start of the program to look out for. So I think a lot of people will want to join and meet these people. But one of the concerns that people might have are about safety, right? I think we've been trained over the past year and a half to avoid other people, keep a distance, stay away, wash our hands 20 times a day. What kind of measures are you taking now to keep people safe in this time where we're still balancing our health, basically?
Yeah. Well, any show, the safety of our staff and our customers is always important. Obviously, with the health backdrop, we have worked very closely with the RAI, who are advising us, and the city. And obviously, everything we do is in the guidelines that are set by the authorities here. So that goes without saying. To give you a bit of flavour of that, our delegates will need proof of vaccination or a negative test. And we have, as you mentioned, there is a site here, so we will be able to do really quick, free tests for our customers, antigen tests on site every 24 hours. So, we're very well set up for that, to make that easy and quick. Social distancing, which we have obviously all observed today, will be in place. But, the normal protocols around hand sanitisation, cleaning are all there. The RAI are phenomenal at advising us on this, and I'm very confident in the measures we've put in place.
Yeah, great to hear. I think, Ms. Riemens, I think it's quite important that you indeed put your shoulders behind such an important mission to actually keep it safe here. That should allow you to actually do more conferences, probably.
Yeah, well, I think Money 2020 is a good example, because this event is all about 65 countries. If you see the next coming month, we will have events with almost 120, and sometimes before COVID, 180 countries being represented in the RAI. If you see that the RAI, with its portfolio, it's about 80% business to business internationally. And the foundation of this is trust. Trust to have a safe travel, a safe event. So the focus in the last 1.5 years has not only been on organizing a safe event within the RAI, now it's the whole value chain. So we support our visitors, our exhibitors, our organizers in the total journey, in the total customer journey. So you need to support everybody and especially in these times, because the regulation and the measures coming out of the authorities is not always crystal clear, to put it mildly. And it means that our organization is focused on adding that value and make the difference not only within Amsterdam, but also internationally.
Yeah, I think, Ms. Halsema, I think that's also quite an important mission for the city of Amsterdam, to make people feel safe, right? I think, like you elaborated before.
It is, but yeah. I completely trust our hotel chains, the protocols they have there. One of our partners, Schiphol, for instance, also has all the protocols in place. So I think we can tell the guests that are coming, it's safe to come to Amsterdam. Don't worry.
Yeah, great. Great news for you as well, Mr. Riemens, I think, to look ahead to a full conference season again.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I think probably we should wrap up the formal part of the conference right now, unless any one of you has still anything to add that we didn't mention just yet. Because otherwise I would love to give the floor to the people in the room to ask questions. If there are any, please raise your hand, and we're more than happy to see if we can facilitate the question. I do have to make a point first that our mayor has to leave a bit on time, so might not have time for all the questions. I saw one hand at the back.
Yes, question to Mr. Everhardt. Before the coronavirus, Amsterdam was losing out in conference traffic to places like Barcelona. Why should people come back here now? And a question to Ms. Davies. You're British. The Brits are in charge of etiquette. What's the etiquette for greeting people at the conference?
Thank you for these questions. Let's start with you, Mr. Everhardt.
That's already explained. That's why we're investing also from the governmental side in putting a bureau in place again. It's about the city, it's about the environment, it's about not only going to the conference, but what the city itself has to offer. That's of added value, that's what we see. And next to that, we are aiming at those sectors, and fintech is quite a good example for that, which is already in place here in Amsterdam itself. So it's also the environment outside of the RAI building, which is interesting for those conferences to come here. And I think that if you still, and I can't stress it enough, if you really want to face the problems we see right now in this sustainable area, the sustainable finance I already talked about, but sustainability in itself as a big problem for all of us. And I see that if you want to find solutions, at least in Europe, you have certain hubs, and the metropolitan area of Amsterdam has the ability to find new ways, to install new ways, and to prove that this way to Paris can be found and will solve problems we see right now and we will face the next coming 10 years. And that's what we need. Not only in our country, we need it in Europe, we need it in the world. And I think then added value of conferences with all those brains coming together, that will have this influx to Amsterdam. And then I'm sure that we'll go up in the pavement of being an interesting conference city.
Thank you for that, Ms. Everhardt.
And
Ms.
on
Davies.
etiquette?
Yeah,
I get the
go ahead.
etiquette question. Well, I think we've talked a lot about our responsibility as an organiser and the protocols. I've talked about that. But there's obviously personal responsibility. And I think in terms of your question, because obviously a lot is about doing deals and interacting, well, it was interesting when I greeted all of you this morning. I think we're using the elbow, et cetera, et cetera. So I think, most of us as individuals have developed a new way of greeting face-to-face. So I imagine that will be in full force. But, individuals will make their own choices. We will make sure that the show is under all the protocols. But I'm thinking that the elbow bump is probably the new way of greeting.
Thank you, Ms. Davies.
A serious question now, serious topic.
It's still a bit funny still when you do it, but indeed
It is.
it's the best way that we can handle so far, right? Any other questions so far? Well, that makes life fairly easy, I would say. Then I would like to thank you very much, Ms. Davies, Ms. Halsema, Mr. Riemens and Mr. Everhardt. Thank you very much for joining me here and explaining to everyone why they should come to Amsterdam, not just on the 21st to 23rd of September for Money 2020, but for a full conference season that's enjoyable in the city. So thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much for listening in, and we're looking forward to see you all again very soon here at the RAI.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.